Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here. It's running the two-game NBA main slate on Tuesday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before I get into the analysis real quick, I want to say thank you guys again for all support. Currently at 4.81 thousand subscribers now on YouTube. The easiest way to support me, since all the content is free, is just leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell just so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. I will be live streaming for this two-game slate. This is the final two-game slate for NBA of the year, 30 minutes before lock, so be sure to check out my live stream tomorrow. I'll go over all the news, answer any questions you guys have at the end. Also, if you guys cannot watch YouTube videos, I do upload an Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. It's the DK DFS show. And if you guys are interested in NFL content, we have a two-game slate today. I will be live streaming for that probably 45 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in playing some NFL action tonight. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we get into players and their prices, let's go over and take a look at the Vegas odds here for this two-game slate. We have the Heat. We have the Celtics. It's a 209.5 over under. Celtics are 1.5 point favorites. And then we have Nuggets, Clippers, Game 7 here. Also 207.5 over under. Clippers are 7.5 point favorites. So as always, we'll start with center today. And Nikola Jokic at the top of 10K. I think he is clearly, right now, the top spend up of the slate. Jamal Murray are really carrying this offense. But the latter more, Jokic. Jokic is doing a lot more right now. I mean, look at his stat lines of the last 4 games. 32, 12, and 8, 26, 11, and 6, 22, 14, and 5, 34, 14, and 7. It's a good individual matchup. Zubac, Harrell, when they're out there, not great defenders. So it looks really good for Jokic. The price point isn't really moving. I think he is your top spend up if you're going to spend all the way up right now. Him and Kawhi, it's close. But I give the edge to Jokic for the fact of we have Paul George for like $2,000 less than Kawhi with similar upside. So I think Jokic right now is probably the optimal spend up at the moment. Game 7, do or die. I think he might even play a few more minutes, maybe 42, 43. I think he played, maybe it was only 40. He played 43 minutes one game there in the game against Utah. So, yeah, I love Nikola Jokic. I think he is probably your top spend up. Let's talk about Miami, Boston, and Bam Adebayo here at 8-4. This is tricky. This is a game that, the price points are up on a lot of guys. No one really stands out as like an amazing play here in this game, in my opinion. You have Miami being a very, very balanced team. The minutes on Bam have been a little bit up and down. Only played 31 the last game. So that is a concern. Like, he's played games where he's played like closer to 40, and he's played minutes in the low 30s. So this is a tricky one. Do the minutes, does he get closer to 40? If that's the case, he looks a lot more viable. If he gets those minutes like 31 to 33, not as much. And he wasn't like he was in foul trouble last game either. It's just they went with Kelly Olynyk for an extended period of time. So that really is the concern with Bam Adebayo. Just the minutes have been shaky on him in the first 2 series. Like, there's just no guarantee, right? Early on, he played 38. I was like, oh, all right, we're going to get close to 40 minutes a game from Bam. And then 33, 36, 44, and then overtime, and then back down to 31. So, right, they're kind of all over the place. So that is the concern there with Bam Adebayo. Tice is at 5'7". Another guy that, he did foul out that last game, but he was playing. His minutes have also been a little bit up and down. He played 47 in that double overtime game, so 37 minutes, and previously 30, 26, 30. So I think the plan for Tice is probably around 30-ish minutes. 5'7", we're not really getting him an amazing discount. I think he's playable in the mid-range. Ivica Zubac's at 4'8". I think he's one of the better value plays. The minutes have been there for him. That's been the concern with Doc Rivers and those rotations. It's just there were games where he would only play 20 minutes. Well, they've been there the last 3 games. 30, 32, and 30. Now, he hasn't been amazing, right? Only 25, 18, and 22 fantasy points in those times. But at least the minutes have been there for him. So if we're going to get 30-ish minutes from Zubac, like I said, I think he is one of the better value plays of the day because he's a pretty solid point per minute guy. Even though he hasn't been amazing last 3 games, he's had games where he's gone for 30+ easily in like last minutes. So Zubac's a guy I'm for sure looking to. Again, it's good to see the minutes have been there. Get a couple of these Denver guys like Millsap. I have absolutely no idea how many minutes he's going to play. Right? I was kind of hoping I didn't have to talk about this Denver Clippers game again just because the minutes and so many of these guys are just way too inconsistent. But at least, again, we have one more 2-game slate, which is a positive. The negatives, we have to talk about guys like this. I have absolutely no idea how many minutes he's going to play. Absolutely no idea. He could play 14. He could play 30. Going to say this about a couple guys here, especially in this Denver Clippers game. If he plays closer to 30, he is certainly playable. If he plays 14, absolutely not. So if you play Millsap, there's a risk because there's a chance Mike Malone does not give him like hardly any minutes. But if he does get extended, he's definitely a guy that can get you. Like if I knew Paul Millsap was going to play 30 minutes, I would play him at 4-7. But there's absolutely no guarantee of that right now. Montrezl Harrell's going to be a guy I'm going to avoid. The minutes are going up on Zubac, down on Harrell. Harrell's been playing really bad too. I have no interest in Montrezl Harrell. I think the only way he gets there is if something happens to Zubac, possibly foul trouble. But I am not going to get to Harrell. Kelly Olynyk intrigues me for value at 3.5. Minutes haven't been amazing, but he's not a guy that necessarily needs like 20+ minutes to get value. He's had games where 8 minutes, 12 fantasy points, 16 minutes, 20 fantasy points, 10 minutes, 12 fantasy points, 17 minutes, 26 fantasy points. This is a revenge spot too against his former team in Boston. You know, the question here is, how many minutes does Kelly Olynyk get? Well, I think it's obviously directly correlated with Bam and Adebayo. So if you're playing Bam, I don't think I would play Kelly O. If you're playing Kelly O, I don't think I would play Bam. Because if Kelly O gets extended, Bam's going to play less minutes. If Bam plays close to 40, Kelly O's probably going to play 10-ish minutes, right? So those guys are negative correlated. I don't think I would play them both together. You know, my best guess for Kelly O's minutes is somewhere like probably 12 to 15. And that makes him playable because he's been such a good point per minute guy. So it's a risky play because he's not going to play big minutes. But if the chance he gets extended a bit, if he gets closer to the 20-minute mark, he can for sure have a big day for his price. So I'm definitely interested in Kelly O. Obviously a little bit riskier option because the minutes have been up and down. Same thing with him and Bam and Adebayo. JaMychal Green's at 3.4. Another guy that, minutes a little bit up and down, right? 15, 18, 14, 20. If he plays, minutes close to 20, he becomes more playable. If he plays only like 12 to 14 minutes, not as much. Not an amazing point per minute guy, but he's had games where he went for 25 and 26 minutes, right? He can get you there for value. So I think he's at least in consideration as a value play on this slate. Robert Williams at 3.4, another guy that, how many minutes is he going to get? Well, he got extended due to Tice fouling out in 18 minutes. It's a tricky one, right? Because he was playing big minutes early in that Toronto series, 19, 18, 14, 15, then 9, 8, and then back to 18. So how many minutes do we get from Robert Williams? That's another question mark. I don't know. If he plays minutes 15 plus, he has a pretty decent chance to get value. If he only plays 8 to 9 minutes, not as much. So another trickier one. He's a really good point per minute guy, but the risk is there. Plumlee's the only guy you can take a shot on is if you think Jokic possibly gets in foul trouble. That's the only way I see him getting value. He's not going to play alongside Jokic at all. So what you really need here is you need big time foul trouble from Jokic. If that's the case, like Plumlee could have a good game, but you really need that foul trouble. So not going to get there. Obviously not a single entry play. Let's move on to power forward. Like I said, a lot of the Miami-Boston guys are just not at super appealing price points. Tatum did go for 60. He's gone for 60 the last couple of games. That one was 51 minutes in double overtime. The second one, 44 minutes. And, how many minutes do we get out of Tatum is a little bit more up in the air. I think the plan is normally for him to get about 40. At 9.7, that makes him certainly playable, but Miami is a pretty solid defensive team. So right now, I think I prioritize Jokic over Tatum. I think I go either Kawhi or Paul George over Tatum as well. So trickier one. He's going to be low owned. I'm probably not going to get to him. Crowder's at 5'8". I think you know what you're getting out of Jay Crowder. Somewhere between 30 to 35 minutes. He's a guy that, will fill up the stat sheet. It's a revenge game spot, too, if you're into that against his former team. He's been really consistent. Last 4 games against Milwaukee, 32, 32, 32, and 31 fantasy points in 36, 34, 31, 32 minutes, right? So I think we know what we're getting into at Jay Crowder is 30 to 35 minutes and probably close to 30 fantasy points. So I have no issue with him in the mid-range. Like, with him and Daniel Tice, I think I slightly prefer Crowder to Tice. MPJ, this is the same analysis I have as Paul Millsap. How many minutes do we get out of Michael Porter Jr. has been the question mark this entire series, and it's been super frustrating, to be honest. To try to break it down from a DFS perspective is super, super frustrating because it really depends on if Malone extends him. And it's been inconsistent every single night. Look at the minutes he's played so far this year. 23, then 16, then 23, then 34, then 22, then 27. So what do we get at MPJ? I have absolutely no idea for minutes. If he plays close to 30, I like him a good amount as a mid-range play. He's a good offensive player. He had upside, what was that, 4 games ago, went for 40 fantasy points. The upside is there. Like, for me, we have Grant, we have Millsap, we have MPJ, all kind of priced about the same. Who do I feel the best at taking a shot on? It's MPJ, because the upside's the highest on him. It's just, are we going to get the minutes is the big question mark. So, a tricky one, but of those 3 guys, MPJ is the highest upside. Out of Millsap, Grant, and MPJ himself. Morris at 5K has been a disappointment this series. He was really solid against Dallas and has really been a letdown against Denver. 21, 14, 25, 10 fantasy points. The minutes have been 30 to 35 for him, so it's not like the minutes are going down. Playable option in the mid-range, again, has been inconsistent so far this series, but I think he's at least worth consideration if you need someone in the mid-range. Jeremy Grant's at 4'9". Only played 20 minutes last game. Now, wasn't a little bit of foul trouble, but 20 minutes. Like, Jeremy Grant's been a super, super low usage guy so far in the series, so the minutes have to be there for him. I think they do go up, but by how much is the question. I would say we probably get 30 to 35 minutes from Grant. It makes him in play, but the issue is he's been, like I said, a super, super low usage guy. So of Grant, Millsap, and MPJ, I would just rather take a shot on MPJ and hope the minutes are there. Because he, right now, is obviously the best offensive player of those 3 guys. Talk about Kellyo potential value. Talk about Jermichael Green potential value. I'm not going to play Grant Williams at 3-1. That's it for power forward. Let's talk about small forward. So Kawhi Leonard's at 10-4. Do or die time now for the Clippers. Game 7. Obviously, right? They have to win. So maybe the minutes go up a bit on him. 42, 39, 39, 41. Maybe it's like 44 for Kawhi here. He's been super, super consistent so far in the playoffs. Like, no game less than 40 fantasy points. He's at upside of over 70 a couple times. Another tricky one. With him and Jokic, I think I slightly prefer Jokic at a similar price. And then you have him and Paul George. Well, you have Paul George at almost 2K less than Kawhi Leonard. And he's had similar upside the last couple games. So, right now, I think the optimal spend-ups are Jokic and Paul George. That doesn't make Kawhi Leonard out of play. I think there is a way where you could play all 3 if you want to go that direction. Play Jokic, play Paul George, play Kawhi Leonard. It's doable. I mess around with the roster construction. It's doable. You're going to have to take some shots at some cheap guys, but you can go that way if you want to. Talk about Tatum. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's at 8-5. The issue with this Miami team is very, very balanced attack. With Goran Dragic inserted in that starting lineup, it has hurt the upside of Butler and Bam. They also have Crowder, who's been playing consistent. Duncan Robinson can score the ball. They have Tyler Hero off the bench. Kellyo's been a super high usage guy off the bench. So it's not like the offense is just Jimmy and Bam. There's a lot of guys that can score the ball on this Miami team. The better thing with Jimmy compared to Bam is the minutes. Like, we're going to get 35 to 40 minutes from Jimmy, whereas Bam could get low 30s, could get closer to 40. So the minutes have been a little bit more consistent on Jimmy. But at 8-5, it's not like we're really getting an amazing discount either. And this spot two really good defensive teams, Miami and Boston. So right now, and I prioritize Paul George over Jimmy Butler at a similar price. Jaylen Brown's at 8K. He's been good. He was good the last 3 games against Toronto, 41, 60, and then 41 fantasy points. But we're not really getting an amazing discount on him either. So no one really stands out in this Boston-Miami game, in my opinion, as far as the spend-ups go. Talk about MPJ, talk about Marcus Morris, talk about Jeremy Grant. Duncan Robinson's a really intriguing play here at 4-5. Another guy, the minutes have been all over the place. Last 4 games, 27, 30, 39, and no overtime, and then 14. Obviously, he was in some foul trouble last game, but like I said, if we get close to 40 minutes from Duncan Robinson, he is the best value on the slate. But there's no guarantee in that at all. And the floor is low on him. He literally is a guy that has to hit his threes. If not, like last game, 2 fantasy points. Now, sure, only 14 minutes. So what are the minutes going to be like for Duncan? My best guess is we get 25 to 30. And that makes him squarely in play. But there's a chance he plays less, and there's a chance he plays more. So this is a tricky one. If you play him, you got to hope he gets extended. Because if he does, he has potential to break the slate at 4.5K. But be warned, right? The floor is low on him if he is not hitting his threes. So Duncan is a very intriguing play as a cheaper option. I like his upside, but he's got to get extended. Iguodala at 3.7. He'll play probably 15-ish minutes, maybe 20. I think I prefer other value on the slate. He's playable, but not my favorite value piece. Torrey Craig's at 3.4. The minutes have been up on him a little bit, 25, 18, and 23. He's playable, right, if he gets 20 to 25 minutes, but a super low usage guy, not really out there for his offense. Shamet, I'm not going to get to at 3.3. Did play 20 the last game, but only 3 fantasy points. He's a super, super low usage guy. And that's it. So let's move on to shooting guard. Jamal Murray's at 8.7. He is squarely in play on this slate. I don't think a lot of people get to him. Jokic is the guy that's going to eat up all the ownership for Denver. Jokic is going to be the chalk on this slate. Don't forget about Jamal Murray. The upside is there. The floor is lower on him. He hasn't really had a huge game so far in the series, but it's there. If he can get hot behind the 3-point line, we saw it against Utah, and he can break the slate and go for 70 plus, 80 plus. But right now, the safer play is Nikola Jokic for the fact that he does more offensively than Jamal Murray. But do not rule Murray out, right? Murray and Paul George are similar prices. Paul George is going to be probably triple the ownership of Jamal Murray, maybe more. So, yeah, Murray intrigues me. I like him as a contrarian play. I don't think a lot of people get to him. I talked about Paul George. I think him and Jokic are the optimal spend-ups in the slate right now. 8.6, he looks a better play than Kawhi Leonard. I mentioned, though, you can play all 3 if you want to, of Kawhi, Paul George, and Jokic. Do or die time. He's playing about 40 minutes. He's shot the ball a little bit better, right? 8 of 18 and 9 of 21 has put up 50 and 57 fantasy points. So that upside is there for Paul George. And again, like you said, you're getting almost a $2,000 difference off of him and Kawhi. So if you're going to make me pick, I will give the edge to Paul George over Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not paying $7K for Marcus Smart. I'll let others chase. There's just no way I'm doing it. I know he was really good in that double overtime game against Toronto. But we get one of those Marcus Smart games, feels like once every 15 games he'll have one of those games. Other than that, the upside really isn't super high on him. So you're almost getting $7K for him too. If I'm going to play someone in Boston, I would just rather play Jaylen Brown for an extra $1,000. I would rather play Kemba Walker. I'm just not going to get to Marcus Smart at 6'9". If he goes out there and has another big game, so be it. I'm just not doing it. Lou Williams is a guy I've tried to play over the course of the last few games. It just has not been working out. And the minutes aren't necessarily secure for him, right? 19 2 games ago, 24 last game. So I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. Another guy with Doc Rivers rotations, they're so inconsistent on a night-to-night basis. If we get close to 30, he looks better. But if we only get 20 minutes from Lou Williams, he's not really playable. he does have potential to break the slate. We have not seen a big game from him yet so far against Denver, but he had a couple against Dallas. He had 40 previously, about 50 that one game. So the upside is there on him if he's shooting the ball well. But right now, he has not been shooting the ball well. And how many minutes does he get? Again, up in the air. So a risky play does have potential to break the slate. But right now, there's no guarantee on his minutes. Tyler Hero, of everyone in Miami, Boston, I think he's my favorite play for his price. The minutes have been super consistent on him. 32, 31, 33, and 37 minutes at last game. He's a guy that has been doing it all, too. Rebounding the ball, getting assists, and scoring the ball. And the plan for him is to play off the bench and play him the big minutes. He's going to play over 30 minutes in this one. So, like I said, Miami is a super balanced team. You have Jimmy and Bam over 8K. You have Dragic over 7K. Hero's a guy that maybe doesn't have as much upside, but is way cheaper. So for his price and the minutes he's playing, I think he's my favorite play in Miami. I like his upside a good amount there at 5.4. Gary Harris at 4.6. He played 42 minutes the last game. He fouled out when he only played 27 minutes. He also fouled out when he played 23 minutes. So the plan is to play Gary Harris as many minutes as he can handle. He's more out there for his defense, but he's a 3-and-D guy. And if the minutes will be 40-ish, like at 4.6, he's certainly in play. So I have interest in Gary Harris for value. I like that the plan right now is to play in the big Mets as long as he doesn't get in foul trouble. Now, like I said, he has fouled out in 2 of the last 3 games, which is a little bit concerning, but the plan is to give him big minutes. Talked about Duncan Robinson. How many minutes do we get from him is a big question mark. And that's really, like, I'm not going to take a shot on Kendrick Nunn. I think there's a chance he probably doesn't even play in this one. So let's move on to point guard. Talk about Jamal Murray. Kemba, back-to-back bad games. They were doing a box-and-one defense on Kemba. Kind of took him out of the game. Yeah, 7-7. Like, I still would rather play Kemba than Marcus Smart. I still would rather play Jaylen Brown than Marcus Smart. But am I going to prioritize Kemba Walker? I'm probably not going to. Like I said, for me, it's Paul George and it's Nikola Jokic's spend-ups. I think they're the safest spend-ups at the moment. So Kemba's fine, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play him. Dragic's at 7-3. Had his floor game last time out in 33 minutes, only 24 fantasy points. Other than that, though, he's been really, really consistent. So, like, I would probably rather get to Dragic than either Jimmy or Bam for the prices. Like, we're going to get 35-plus minutes. He might have like Kemba Walker defense on him, which would be a plus. So Dragic is a guy that intrigues me at 7-3, but still, like, I'm not going to prioritize him on the slate either. Now Pat Beverley's at 4K. He's potential value for sure. He's been up and down. He fouled out in 18 minutes. Did play 27 before that. So I think the plan for him is about 25 minutes. Obviously, do or die time here, like I mentioned. I think Pat Beverley's certainly a guy I'm looking to for value. Another guy that is very similar to Pat Beverley, won't play as many minutes as Monte Morris. 18, 17, 17, and 16. He's been solid. He's a guy that can get close to 20. Like I said, I think Pat Beverley is slightly safer due to the fact that he's going to play more minutes. But you can consider Monte Morris. He's probably going to be a third of the ownership of Pat Beverley. Shaman's how to play. Wanamaker. It's kind of the same with Rob Williams. How many minutes is this guy going to play? I have absolutely no idea. He played 28 game 1. Then 9, then 12, then 13, then 28, then 19, then 9. So, if he plays 25-plus minutes, he's going to be one of the better value plays at 3-3. If he plays 9 minutes, absolutely not. I know I said that about a lot of guys on this 2-game slate, but it's true. There are many guys, like probably 8 or so, I would say, where the minutes are so up and down and so hard to try to figure out what they're going to be on a night-to-night basis. And that's really it for the breakdown today, guys. So I think that's going to wrap it up for the video. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. I will be live streaming 30 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check the live stream tomorrow, guys. Thanks again. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow in the live stream.